The Golden State Warriors have been counting on a specific prospect falling to them at the 11th pick of the 2026 NBA draft. Now, that plan may be falling apart. Arizona shooting guard Braden Burries, who had been heavily linked to Golden State for weeks, appears increasingly likely to be off the board well before the Warriors get their chance to select. Reports suggest Burries could be gone as early as pick number 5, with multiple teams in the top 10 showing genuine interest in the sharpshooting guard. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into everything today, that like button right there is what decides if this video hits hundreds or thousands of people. 1 second is all it takes, but the impact on this channel is massive. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. Seriously, it's the simplest thing you can do. And honestly, the best way to back this content up, because every single like pushes us further. So hit it now. The clearest signal came from insider Jake Fisher of the Stein Line, who reported over the weekend that the Dallas Mavericks and Burries have mutual interest ahead of the 9th pick. But that is not even the most alarming development for Warriors fans. Fisher also noted that Burries is under serious consideration by the Los Angeles Clippers at number 5. If the Clippers pull the trigger, Dallas may pivot to another target entirely. Either way, it now looks like Burries has effectively locked himself into the top 9 picks of this draft. His floor, based on current reporting, appears to be the 9th selection. For a team that spent weeks building a draft board around the possibility of landing Burries at 11, this is a significant shift. The Warriors will need to adapt. The question now becomes whether Golden State should consider trading up to secure Burries before Dallas or Los Angeles takes him, or whether the organization pivots to an entirely different direction at number 11. On the question of trading up, the answer seems clear. It is not worth it. Burries profiles as a quality secondary ball handler, a reliable three-point shooter, and a competent wing defender. Those are all valuable traits, and any team would welcome that skill set into their rotation. But he is not a franchise-altering talent. Standing at 6 feet, 3 3/4 inches, and without elite athleticism, Burries does not project as a star at the next level. He is a very good player, not a transformative one. Giving up additional draft capital to move up for him would be an overpay for what he brings to the table. There is also an uncomfortable similarity between Burries and a player already on the Warriors roster. Burries and Brandon Podziemski share nearly identical size and skill profiles. Both are perimeter guards with three-point shooting ability, solid handle, and decent defensive tools. That comparison works both ways. It confirms Burries would be a legitimate pick at 11, but it also raises a question of whether the Warriors really need another player in that mold when they already have Podziemski developing in that exact role. Drafting Burries would give Golden State 2 players who fill the same function on the roster, which is not necessarily the best use of a top 12 selection. The more interesting conversation now centers on what happens to the Warriors board if Burries and fellow prospect Nate Amon both come off the board in the top 10. That scenario appears increasingly likely based on current draft chatter. If both are gone by the time the Warriors are on the clock, the prize waiting for them at 11 could actually be better than Burries himself. Yaxel Lendeborg would be on the board, and analysts who have studied this draft closely have argued he should be the Warriors' top target regardless of what happens above them. But there's another possibility that has started generating real buzz among draft observers. Imagine a top 10 that unfolds like this. Washington takes A.J. Dibanza first overall. Utah selects Darren Peterson second. Memphis goes with Cam Boozer third. Chicago picks Caleb Wilson fourth. The Clippers take Keaton Wagler fifth. Brooklyn selects Mikael Brown Jr. sixth. Sacramento goes with Darius Acuff Jr. seventh. Charlotte takes Ade Mara eighth. Dallas lands Burries ninth. And Milwaukee closes the top 10 with Nate Amon. If that sequence plays out, the Warriors would have access to Houston point guard Kingston Flemings at pick 11. Fleming stands 6 feet, 2.5 inches, which does not solve Golden State's lack of size issues. But his game fits what the Warriors need from a backup point guard. He is capable of knocking down threes, scoring off drives, and making the right read on the pass. Perhaps most impressive for a 19-year-old guard. His defensive awareness and effort already exceed what most players his age offer at that end of the floor. Would the Warriors prefer Burries in a head-to-head comparison? Possibly. The familiarity of his game and the weeks of evaluation work they have done on him make him a comfortable option. But Fleming's carries legitimate upside and has a real chance to outperform Burries in the long run. If the board falls that way, Golden State may end up with a hidden gem rather than a consolation prize. The draft is less than 24 hours away, and the Warriors front office will need to be ready for every possible version of how the top 10 unfolds. Their ability to adapt in real time could define this franchise for the next several years. The Golden State Warriors are not locked into staying at the 11th pick of the 2026 NBA draft. According to a recent report from Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, the Warriors front office is open to trading down, with the idea of accumulating an additional selection in the late teens a genuine possibility. 3 trade-down scenarios stand out as particularly realistic given the landscape of teams picking near Golden State. The first scenario involves the Charlotte Hornets. In this deal, the Warriors will receive Charlotte's 14th and 18th picks in exchange for the 11th selection, plus a 2028 first-round pick protected through the top 11. The Hornets are in an unusual roster situation heading into next season. They currently have 13 players under contract, which leaves very little room to absorb 2 first-round rookies simultaneously. Charlotte will almost certainly decline Pat Connaughton's team option to create some flexibility, and the organization is expected to use their mid-level exception on 1 or 2 free agents in the coming weeks. Given all of that, the Hornets may be highly motivated to consolidate their draft picks rather than use 2 lottery slots on players they cannot immediately roster in a meaningful way. The position most in need of an upgrade for Charlotte is center, which is why Ade Mara is considered the most likely target if they move up. Siegel noted that the Warriors already asked Charlotte for both picks and received a tepid response, but that door may open again depending on how the board falls on draft night. The second scenario centers on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Here, Golden State would drop 1 spot from 11 to 12 while also receiving Oklahoma City's 17th pick. In exchange, the Thunder would get the 11th selection plus a 2028 first-round pick protected through the top 10. Oklahoma City's roster is already deep and stacked with young talent, making it genuinely difficult to imagine them using both first-round selections on players who will join an already crowded rotation. The Thunder's preferred outcome likely involves packaging multiple assets in a bid to land Cam Boozer. But if that deal does not come together, Oklahoma City may look to jump 1 spot simply to grab the preferred player before Golden State, and they would still walk away with protected future first for sending the 17th pick to the Warriors. This type of deal is very much in the Thunder's organizational DNA, as they have shown a consistent willingness to accumulate future capital even when moving in small increments. The third and most aggressive scenario for Golden State involves the Memphis Grizzlies. In this trade, the Warriors would drop 5 spots from 11-16 while also receiving the 32nd pick, which is a top selection in the second round. Memphis will receive only the 11th pick in return. This is the riskiest of the 3 options because the quality of players available around pick 32 drops off considerably. The value at that range is inconsistent, and Golden State would need to have high confidence that a worthwhile prospect will still be on the board at that spot. The deal only makes sense for the Warriors under 2 specific conditions. First, that their internal evaluations show minimal difference between the 11th and 16th prospects on their board, and second, that they believe someone they genuinely want will be available in the second round. If Yaxel Lendeborg or any other top Warriors target is gone by 16, the math no longer works in Golden State's favor. The upside of the scenario is significant, though. Walking away with 2 prospects instead of 1, including a solid wing or center at 32 alongside a mid-first-round point guard at 16, could ultimately deliver more long-term value than a single pick in the top 12. As for Memphis's interest, Jake Fisher of the Stein line reported that the Grizzlies are actively trying to move up from 16 into the lottery, which means this particular conversation is not hypothetical. Both sides have real motivation to make something happen before the clock starts ticking on draft night. The Warriors are in a position of leverage, and how they handle the next several hours could shape the direction of the franchise well into the decade. What makes all 3 of these scenarios worth evaluating is the broader context of what Golden State is trying to accomplish this offseason. The Warriors are a team in transition. Stephen Curry remains one of the most dangerous offensive players in the league, and Jimmy Butler gives him a credible second star, but the roster around him needs reinforcement. Adding 2 first-round picks instead of 1 would dramatically accelerate the organization's ability to build depth and youth at the same time. A second pick in the late teens means more opportunities for at least one selection to develop into a reliable rotation contributor. For a franchise that has operated on winning now timelines for over a decade, the willingness to consider trading down signals an evolving approach to roster construction. Golden State is not abandoning its championship ambitions, but is acknowledging that accumulating assets in a deep draft may serve those ambitions better than standing pat at 11. Draft night decisions are rarely clean, but the direction is clear. If the right team calls with the right offer, the Warriors are ready to move. The Golden State Warriors have spent the pre-draft period building connections with a handful of well-known prospects, but there's always a chance that the player they ultimately select surprises everyone. 3 sleeper candidates have emerged as legitimate options for Golden State at pick 11, and possibly lower if the team manages to trade down. None of these players has generated significant buzz and connection with the Warriors throughout the draft process, but each one offers a skill set that could translate well into the Bay Area system. The first name to watch is Ibuka Okere, a freshman point guard out of Stanford. Okere flies under the radar in most draft conversations, and that is difficult to understand once you look at his college numbers. In his lone season with the Cardinal, playing in one of the most talent-rich conferences in the country without much support around him, Okere averaged 23.2 points, 3.6 assists, and just 1.9 turnovers per game. That turnover figure alone is remarkable. No other prospect in this class comes close to his level of ball security, and that skill directly reflects the quality of his handle and his decision-making under pressure. He shot 35.4% from three-point range, a number that looks average in isolation, but deserves more credit when you factor in how rarely his teammates created clean catch-and-shoot opportunities for him. Given a proper offensive structure and shooters around him, that percentage figures to climb. The knock on Okere is his size. He stands just 6 feet, 1¼ inches tall, which is a legitimate concern for an NBA point guard who will need to defend 2 guard types on the other end. His listed weight of 186 pounds is something he will need to build on as well, but his wingspan of 6 feet, 7¾ inches is a real compensating factor. Okere is actually stronger than LeBaron Philin Jr., another guard in this draft who is frequently projected as a lottery pick despite weighing in at just 176 pounds. Philin at 6 feet, 2½ inches, holds a modest height advantage, but Okere counters with better driving ability, more reliable ball security, and a longer wingspan that helps him on defense. Philin did shoot the 3 better than Okere this past season, but Okere's three-point numbers as a freshman were superior to what Philin shot at the same stage of his college career. There is no confirmed report that the Warriors worked out Okere, but his proximity to the Bay Area during his college career means Golden State had every opportunity to scout him extensively throughout the season. The second sleeper is Dalen Swain, a small forward out of Texas. Swain has not received the same level of attention as some of the more celebrated wing prospects in this class, but his physical tools are hard to dismiss. He measured 6 feet, 6½ inches at the combine, with a wingspan of 6 feet, 10 inches. Those are ideal dimensions for an NBA wing defender, and Golden State has identified wing versatility as one of their primary needs heading into next season. Swain is not the most explosive athlete in this draft, and his three-point shooting at just 34.4% means he cannot yet be classified as a reliable floor spacer. But he already shows real competence as a slasher, rebounder, and passer, giving him a functional offensive game that goes beyond outside shooting. The Warriors appear to be focused on Yaxel Lendeborg, Cameron Carr, and Braden Burries if they choose to go the wing route, but Swain is a name worth remembering if the team ends up with second first-round pick through a trade down and needs to find value deeper in the board. The third sleeper is the one with the most confirmed connection to the Warriors. Bennett Sturtz, a point guard out of Iowa. Sturtz worked out with Golden State earlier this week, and the session apparently left a strong impression. Brett Siegel of Clutch Points identified Sturtz as a dark horse candidate to end up with the Warriors, particularly if Golden State acquires a second pick by trading down from 11. Sturtz is not a perfect prospect. His three-point percentage of 35.8% came while carrying an enormous offensive burden for Iowa, meaning he rarely had the luxury of open looks. His physical frame, 6 feet, 2.5 inches at 186 pounds, raises legitimate defensive questions at the NBA level. But his passing, his scoring instincts, and his feel for the game are genuinely impressive for a college guard. The Warriors will be betting that playing alongside Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, who draw constant defensive attention, would unlock far better shooting numbers from Sturts than he ever posted in college. If Golden State finds themselves holding a pick in the late teens after a trade down, Sturts offers a high floor as a smart, reliable guard who understands the game and can contribute immediately in a supporting role. The draft is almost here, and a sleeper pick may end up being the best decision the Warriors make all offseason.